5 patterns from 152 podcast episodes from 2025 that changed. How Sean Martin thinks about technology, business, and security, heading into 2026. Across 152 episodes this year, the Redefining Cybersecurity podcast, Music Evolves, On Location, and Brand Stories, Sean kept hearing the same fundamental challenges surface in different contexts. Whether Sean was talking with CISOs at RSAC conference, watching a guitar maker explain her craft, or unpacking software supply chain attacks, certain truths kept emerging. Here's what matters most, based on what Sean asked, heard, and said throughout the year. 1. Visibility is the only problem that matters, and we keep solving it wrong. 40 episodes hammered home the same point. You can't secure what you can't see. But here's the twist. Organizations are drowning in visibility tools while remaining blind to actual risk. H.D. Moore, during Black Hat, put it plainly. We're often overlooking what's actually there. The problem isn't a lack of scanning technology. It's that security teams have normalized incomplete inventories. They've accepted that 15 to 20% of their environment is unknown because discovery is hard. The software supply chain conversations made this worse. Malicious packages aren't exploiting accidental coding errors. They're engineered to steal credentials and compromise environments. And the standard advice to only use vetted packages is worthless when the open source ecosystem updates faster than any vetting process can match. Organizations should enhance visibility into their build systems specifically. Not just network visibility, not just endpoint visibility, build pipeline visibility, because that's where attackers are winning. 2. Integration beats innovation every single time. At RSAC Conference 2025, every vendor wanted to talk about their AI features. But Vivin Sathian from Manage Engine asked a better question. Does this actually work with what customers already have? The tool proliferation problem isn't about having too many tools. It's about having tools that don't talk to each other, creating gaps that look like coverage. CISO, Peter Van Iperen, called this out directly. Most CISOs are getting this wrong because they're optimizing for capability instead of integration. CISOs should assess vendor pitches by asking, what specific problem does this solve in my context, and how does it work with the 7 other tools I already bought? Not, what's your roadmap for AI? Stellar Cyber's approach, presented at Black Hat, illustrated this. Their autonomous SOC platform isn't trying to replace everything. It's designed to integrate with existing endpoint solutions. Human augmented, not human replaced. 3. Security as workflow or security as roadblock. There is no middle ground. Spyros Gastaratos described to me during OASP Foundation AppSec Global in Barcelona, Spain, the difference between security programs that teams want to use versus security programs that teams route around. The distinction is brutal. Security can't be a separate gate. It has to be embedded in the workflow, automated, contextual, and invisible until it matters. Josh Grossman reinforced this when discussing ASVS v5. The goal is making secure application development the default path, not the hard path. ThreatLocker's Danny Jenkins crystallized the operational challenge. Organizations want zero trust security without zero trust complexity. They want simplicity without sacrificing control. That's not contradictory. It's the actual requirement. This pattern showed up in public health, too. Jim St. Clair described how AI should enhance data management and decision-making, not create new systems that compete with existing workflows. When reporting requirements create 18-month delays for cancer registry data, the problem isn't a lack of technology. It's that technology hasn't been integrated into the actual work. 4. Context is the skill that separates good CISOs from irrelevant ones. CSOs must understand business context to communicate risk effectively, not business alignment. Actual understanding of what the business does, how it makes money, and where technology enables or constrains that. Philip Miller, MA, CISSP, during RSAC Conference 2025, highlighted the tension. CSOs need to connect with the startup community and understand market dynamics, while simultaneously managing security operations. The ones who close the door on innovation to focus purely on controls become irrelevant quickly. This means being comfortable with ambiguity. It means adapting to changing circumstances rather than defaulting to frameworks. It means knowing which vendor pitches are solving your actual problems versus which are solving problems you don't have. The 40 episodes covering software supply chain risk demonstrated why this matters. The speed of open-source package updates has reshaped risk across development pipelines. Security leaders who still think about supply chain risk the way they did 3 years ago are operating with outdated mental models. 5. The creative dimension. We keep ignoring. Cindy Huledge, a luthier in NYC, builds guitars from salvaged materials, reclaimed wood, repurposed electronics, materials with history. Her process mirrors what effective security programs require: understanding constraints, working with what exists, and creating something functional and elegant from imperfect components. This isn't a metaphor, it's a direct parallel. Security analysts shouldn't spend time on mundane tasks that automation can handle. They should focus on creative problem solving, the same way a guitar maker solves acoustic challenges or a photographer solves composition challenges. Rupesh Chokshi from Akamai Technologies asked whether organizations are integrating security into their innovation processes or treating them separately. Most are doing the latter. They're building innovation teams and security teams and hoping they'll somehow coordinate. But when bots rewrite the buyer's journey and AI agents interact with your brand without human oversight, the creative and the secure aren't separate concerns. They're the same concern viewed from different angles. What this means for how we work. After 152 episodes, Sean is convinced the industry is solving the wrong problems exceptionally well. We're building more sophisticated detection when the real issue is integration. We're adding AI features when the real issue is workflow design. We're buying more tools when the real issue is understanding business context. Sean suggests that the organizations that will succeed in 2026 aren't the ones with the most advanced technology. They're the ones that understand what problems they're actually trying to solve, can see their entire environment clearly, and have embedded security into how work gets done, not as a separate function that reviews work after it's complete. That requires CIOs and CISOs, who think like business leaders, security tools that work like collaboration platforms as part of the environment, not bolted on, and development processes where security is invisible because it's baked in everywhere. 40 episodes on software supply chain risk. Dozens of conversations about tool consolidation. Multiple discussions about human-augmented autonomous systems, all pointing to the same conclusion. Visibility, integration, workflow, context, and creativity aren't 5 separate priorities. They're 5 dimensions of the same fundamental shift in how effective security actually works. Join the conversation. For developers, where does security actually show up in your daily work today? Is it embedded in the build process, or does it arrive as feedback after decisions are already locked in? For application security and security operations teams, which part of your environment do you still struggle to see clearly? Assets, dependencies, build pipelines, or behavior? What blind spots have you learned to accept that maybe you should not? For CISOs and security leaders, when was the last time you retired a tool because it failed to integrate, even if it had strong, standalone capabilities? What trade-offs are you making between visibility, complexity, and speed? For engineering and product leaders, does your security program accelerate delivery by removing friction, or slow it down by adding checkpoints? Where does security feel like part of the workflow, and where does it feel external? For business leaders, can you explain your top security risks in terms of revenue impact, customer trust, or operational continuity without referencing a framework or a control set? For vendors, how does your product reduce ambiguity for teams already overloaded with signals and tools? What problem does it solve inside an existing workflow, not alongside it? Share what is working, what is failing quietly, and what you have stopped pretending is fine. Sean reads the comments and brings these perspectives into future conversations. Drop a comment below or tag us in your posts. What's your perspective on this story? Want to share it with Sean on a podcast? Let him know. About Studio C60. At Studio C60, we help cybersecurity startups build trust-based marketing and go-to-market strategies grounded in deep product understanding and real buyer insights. With hundreds of products brought to market and deep connections in the CISO community, we know what security leaders value in vendors. Learn more at studioc60.com. About Sean Martin. Sean Martin is a lifelong musician and the host of the Music Evolves podcast, a career technologist, cybersecurity professional, and host of the Redefining Cybersecurity podcast, and is also the co-host of the On Location Event Coverage podcast. These shows are all part of ITSP Magazine, which he co-founded with his good friend Marco Ciappelli, to explore and discuss topics at the intersection of technology, cybersecurity, and society. Would you like Sean to work with you on a topic/series to help you tell your story? Visit his services page to learn more, seanmartin.com/services. Want to connect with Sean and Marco, on location at an event or conference near you? See where they will be next, itspmagazine.com/onlocation. To learn more about Sean, visit his personal website at seanmartin.com.